Kaylee, what is main topic number 5?
Main topic number 5 comes to us from Edwin M. Hey, John, I bet the celebrations at the John Campea Show headquarters went long into the night at the announcement that Big Papa Iger was back. But did you see the story about how it all went down? Apparently, Chapek didn't know he was getting fired until the same day they announced it publicly. He was even supposed to be at the Elton John concert Sunday and introduce Elton when the bomb dropped and he was out. I thought this was sort of drama that only happened in the movies. What do y'all think of this? What do you think, John?
I mean, yeah, listen, first of all, it was crazy to hear. I still remember exactly where I was, sitting at my computer at home, and I didn't even see anything. The phone call came in from our business advisor, came in and told me, I just answered, hello, Chapek's out. I'm like, what? And I was literally sitting at my computer going through my news feeds. I hadn't seen it yet. He said, Chapek's out. And I'm like, oh, what? So as crazy as that was, and that Bob Iger was returning and all that kind of stuff, reading the story about how it went down was even crazier. You're right. It's something like straight out of an episode of Succession. So apparently Bob Iger, the chairman of the board who replaced Bob Iger, when Bob Iger stepped down as chairman, apparently reached out and started talking to Iger just days before the announcement came out. Just days. And then apparently, depending on what source you're listening to, Bob Chapek had no idea, because Disney Plus was live streaming the Elton John concert, and a whole ton of executives from there were going to this Elton John concert to see the concert, and they were all there, and they were all having a good time. And apparently, according to the report, Bob Chapek was even supposed to come out and introduce Elton John at the event. And he found out prior to that, left the venue, according to the report that I'm reading. Again, I'm reading some conflicting reports, so it may not have happened exactly this way, but the main one that I'm reading is saying that he left. Kareem Daniel was also there and left. And then that's when the executives there who were there at the concert started getting their DMs and started getting their text messages and finding out that Bob Chapek was out. And it was all happening right there. And apparently the hashtag RIP DMED, which of course that Disney Media and Entertainment Division, that became the trending thing amongst the inner Disney executive text change, RIP DMED. And it was left there. And you're like, well, what the hell's going on? Now, and apparently the reaction to this was huge. This comes from Deadline, and they wrote the following. This quote comes from the New York Post, who said this: Chapek was blindsided by the move, as at the end of last week, he did not know what was about to happen, according to the source close to the situation. It was definitely a shock to Chapek, the source added. Other top Disney executives were unaware of the leadership change until they received Iger's email announcing his return on Sunday. Imagine that. Like, you think you're working for one guy, and then you get an email from somebody saying, I'm your boss now. I'm the captain now. Until they received Iger's email announcing his return on Sunday night. Some learned of the news while attending an Elton John concert at Dodger Stadium that was being live streamed on the Disney Plus streaming service. The Wall Street Journal reported Chapek had been expected to attend the concert, and according to Deadline, he was there. At any rate, he was expected to attend the concert, and the company had even planned for him to introduce Elton John on stage, sources told the Journal. Now, reactions around Disney were interesting. Now, this one comes to us from Deadline, and Deadline was writing the following on this. They said this, and I'm on the wrong page. There we go. We hear only the very top executives at Disney had a heads up about the changeover shortly before it became official. The rest were so taken aback that many suspected a hack when the release hit their inboxes on Sunday night. Then this is a great quote. The feeling quickly went from shock to elation. As one person said, added another, everyone was smiling. There was a sense of relief that everything would be okay, which we hadn't felt in a long time. So the news as it was going out, and by the way, there's other kind of comments on this a little bit later down as well, that the reactions from various executives, middle management, creatives was, think of the end of Return of the Jedi. As the fireworks go off in the night sky and the Ewoks sing Yub Nub and dance around the fallen heads of the EDEM and just having a good time. Apparently, the whole attitude around Disney was celebration. That everybody at the company wanted Chapek gone. Nobody apparently liked the direction the company had been going in and all that kind of stuff. So that's there. And then even people outside of the company started putting out their reactions. Adam Aron, my favorite executive in entertainment. Adam Aron, CEO of, and Taylor, maybe you can look up the exact quote, but Adam Aron, the CEO of AMC Theaters, took to social media that I don't know what he says, I'm popping bottles of champagne or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, he literally got up, but he basically got on and said, "Fuck you, Bob Chapek. We're so glad you're gone." That was basically what. Did you get the exact quote there, Taylor?
No.
Okay, once you got it, just raise your hand. Let me know. But you got it?
No.
But I want to give you guys the exact quote that he said. But Adam Aron was like celebrating. So we got movie theaters who, Chapek was basically robbing by throwing everything and losing Disney money by throwing things on direct streaming. So this guy, he's at an Elton John concert thinking this is a great day. Who gets to walk on stage and introduce Elton John?
Not Bob
Apparently
Chapek.
not Bob Chapek.
Not Bob Chapek, apparently. But he's there, like so it says, like it was right out of an episode of Succession.
He did say this because I think Rob had text us this deadline. It said, I don't know if this is what you're talking about. Based on box office grosses, Disney is the biggest filmmaker of any movie studio. Bob Iger coming back to again lead Disney as its CEO is a big deal. Let me shout this from the mountaintop.
That was it. Let me shout it from the mountaintops.
I have the absolute highest respect for Bob Iger, and that was from.
Yeah. So it's basically, it was the Munchkins singing "Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead." That's, and we're reading in Deadline the reactions of the rank and file amongst Disney too, and then he was gone. Now let me say this, everybody knows I have not been a fan of how Bob Chapek ran Disney. For all I know, totally lovely human being, all that kind of stuff. While I am very happy for the company that he is gone, I will say this. This sounds a little dirty. In Bob Chapek's defense, you try your best. Maybe you're making all the wrong decisions and maybe you were making some dumb mistakes. But I don't think anybody will ever debate that he wasn't trying and he was trying to do something great, right? And you worked for years at a company long before he became CEO. He's been at this company for a long, long time. And he's trying to do the best he can. To find out the day that it becomes public that you're out, even I gotta say, I think they might have done Bob a little dirty. Bob Chapek.
I think I know what my Halloween costume for next year is going to be.
I think that
Yeah.
Actually, you know what?
Shave
If you
my head.
combine the two of
That's
you,
right.
you've got a great Bob. Just put the camera on these guys wide. If you combine these two guys, you got a great Bob Chapek. Give me the wide shot of these two. Yeah, there you go. You do that little morphin thing. You got a great Bob Chapek there. Anyway.
Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. This holiday season, the best deal in wireless can only be found at Mint Mobile. Right now, when you switch to Mint Mobile and buy any 3-month plan, you'll get another 3 months free. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order and activate from home with eSIM while saving tons on phone plans starting at just $15 a month. Guys, I've been using Mint Mobile long before this holiday deal, and I have to say, it is the perfect time to switch. Since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've been spending 1/3 of what I used to spend on my mobile service with the other big name company. And with this buy 3 months, get 3 months free, not only is it a great choice for you, but it makes great gifts for the people you love. Mint Mobile's best offer of the year is here. By going online only and with eSIM and eliminating the traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes those significant savings on to you. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily and effortlessly with eSIM. Or if you need a new device, for a limited time, get 6 months of free service when you buy a selected device and plan. So guys, for a limited time, buy any 3-month Mint Mobile plan and get 3 more months free by going to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea.
I honestly feel bad for Chapek the way it went down.
Oh, I don't.
It's gone. You don't at all? You don't seem to have a sympathy. One drop of sympathy. here.
I've
What do you
never
think?
seen anything like I've never seen somebody so I've never seen people so happy to see somebody gone. And not just talking the executives, I'm talking the fans. And that speaks to a bigger issue with Bob Chapek, which was he was loathed by the Disney fans to the point where he couldn't go to D23 and introduce D23 because he knew he would get booed by the fans at D23. So as the head of the company, he couldn't even present himself because his decisions were so unpopular, not just with the people that work there, but with the people that bought their stuff as well. I mean, you had experiences with the park that you were not pleased about. Like a lot of that stuff is residual Chapek stuff from new decisions he made. And I watched the show yesterday, and you were saying that he kind of was given this impossible task during COVID. And I would tend to disagree somewhat with that in only to say, great leadership isn't judged by when everything is great, but by when everything is not great.
Yeah, that's when you find out what you are as a leader.
He was clearly not up to the challenge of when things are bad, how do you respond to it? And his response to this was bad across the board, and to the point where fans didn't like him, employees didn't like him, the executives didn't like him. He was getting rid of people he shouldn't have gotten rid of. That sort of seemed like protection for him, like get rid of everybody that was a threat, and that way there's nobody that can replace you. Not thinking like they'll bring Iger back. But the other thing is that he, like, the idea that he didn't see this coming, he fucking should have. Because he just had a terrible call, and they knew a year ago, because when they did their earnings call last year, they had great numbers because they were going up against a year where the parks were closed and theaters were closed. And so 2021's numbers were like, they're great because they were compared to a year when everything was closed. So they kind of said, let's wait and see what the 2022 numbers are like. So he knew those numbers were not going to be good. And instead of playing it and saying like, yeah, we're still repositioning, and we were in a position of trying to play catch up a little bit, and we're still in a little bit of a COVID lag with our productions and whatever. He was just like, everything's great, no big deal. And people were like, that's not really what's happening, and that's not what a leader does. And he should have known this was coming because everybody else seemed to know it was coming. We didn't know it was going to come when it did, and we didn't know that it was. I mean, when he re-upped his deal, didn't everybody sort of feel like, really, they renewed his deal again?
Well, but I had warned everybody that, look, he will get even I said well in advance, he will get the initial renewal of his contract. That'll happen because stocks will drop insanely if they don't. But does he make it through to the end of that 3-year term? That was going to be
he didn't.
And it turns out he didn't. By the way, one other thing. I got told that Simu Liu, star of Shang-Chi, actually put out a social media post that was just a smiling face.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
What's that about? It's
Wow.
like, remember when when Shang-Chi was coming out, Bob Chapek said, are you excited for the Shang-Chi? He's, yeah, Shang-Chi's an interesting experiment for us. And like, remember, and they got pissed off a lot of people. But one other thing, I got to point this one out too, is,
What's
who
the
else was
experiment?
probably enjoying their Sunday night? Apparently one of the guys at that, what do you call it? At the Elton John concert was Rice, the big executive, the former head of General Entertainment that everybody loved, that a lot of people at Disney saw as Bob Chapek's successor, and Bob Chapek out of nowhere fired him and he was gone. Apparently he was there at the concert dancing and having a good time.
He jumped on and started singing with Elton. He was so happy.
And I think it's going to be a long, long time.
No, and that's why we call it the blues.
But I mean, have you ever seen anything like this where somebody is so universally loathed, like top to bottom?
In entertainment, like
Tuesday for me.
you asshole. I mean,
About me, not you.
oh, that's
No,
I mean, Weinstein.
Yeah, but that's after the fact.
That's
yeah.
that's
You know
differently.
everything.
I mean,
Like,
no,
this is-
it's actually crazy, but the drama in which this unfolded, and again, all this again reaffirms to me that something else happened that we don't know about. How quickly they moved on this, how fast they moved on this. This tells me that there was another issue that came to the board, that they had to pull what is being defined as and described as an emergency board meeting. and then instantly out him like immediately. It's something else happened that we're going to find out about in the next year or so, I think.
Well, I also think that this overall, when people look back at the time that Hollywood's been going through in the streaming era in particular, we're watching everybody put their eggs in the streaming basket, and everyone's thinking streaming is going to save us because with our subscribers, the studios had something in streaming they'd never had before, which is they knew how much money they're going to make a month. They get cash flow, and they know exactly what that's going to be. And the movie business has inherently been volatile. So streaming, they thought it was going to be this new thing. It hasn't turned out that way. Netflix, Warner Brothers, Disney, Paramount to a certain extent,
Peacock,
the stock prices have all taken a hit because they've had to spend all of this money making content. And at that earnings call, it came out that Disney is $4 billion in the hole because of streaming. And Bob Chapek's like, yeah, we'll make it up.
Yeah, act like there was nothing wrong.
And he didn't offer anything. And now look what's happening. The entire business is sliding back into the network TV model of advertising. And so what was once this new business, and remember, the entire business has been restructured. Talent deals were changed around, and there was no more residuals, and people were getting buyouts and everything. Well, now it's going back to the TV model. And what about that little cheddar we're going to get? We got to get some of that ad revenue. You're dealing with an entire industry that is in the middle of turbulent waters. And all of this Bob Chapek business is, I think, a function of all that.
Yeah.
And they need a guy like Bob Iger because Bob Iger can weather this storm. He has a much bigger vision than Bob Chapek ever had.
And it should be pointed out, too, that Disney Plus is Bob Iger's baby. It's Bob Iger's brainchild.
Yes.
It's just that Bob Chapek ran it and used it in a very different way than Bob Iger would have.
And do you think, but didn't Bob Iger buy Pixar as well?
We bought Pixar. He bought Star Wars.
But Bob
bought,
Iger's the kind of guy that would know that, let's not put Pixar movies on Disney Plus
I don't
first.
think Turning Red would have ended up on, like, Soul I kind of understand because it was right at the height of everything and you were kind of like, what are we going to do? And you can't, like, no theaters were open. But I saw Turning Red in the theater. They had a El Capitan. I went opening night.
I remember they did that
like
one day
week
thing,
only.
yeah.
And I went, and it was amazing. People loved it. And it was like, I feel bad that the rest of the country never got that experience because they were like, just throw it up for, and it wasn't even a premium thing. It was just a freebie that they threw out for, again, if you're not making any money from that subscription, then you're losing money.
All right, we actually got to move on because we're already out of time. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Are you like me, where I actually kind of feel a little bad for Bob Chapek the way it went down? Maybe you're like Cliff, where you feel like no sympathy for him at all. And all kidding aside, again, I have heard he's actually quite a nice gentleman, and we hope all the best for him. He can take the $50 million of the golden parachute that he's probably going to be very comfortable, and best of luck to his next endeavors. And we hope all good things for Bob Chapek, but it was time for him to go. Anyway, guys, how do you feel about all that? Whatever your thoughts are, jump into the comment section below and leave those thoughts there.